right, guys, what's going on? Levi Trumbull reporting here in Frederick, Maryland. We have a big conclusionary update to bring you guys as it relates to the Shaun Porter criminal trespass charge that he received last year during a protest on the Frederick Community College campus. You will remember that he was charged with one criminal count of trespassing. It was a education statute, and the claim was that he created a disturbance and that he refused to leave the campus when he was asked to, and that is how he received this trespassing charge. We actually have the moment that crime allegedly took place. We're going to bring you that footage right now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to bring you the update.
So let's know, campus safety is getting a bunch of complaints.
I don't care.
No, I know.
I don't care.
No, but
it's First Amendment, and if the kids want to argue, you arrest the kids and you arrest me simultaneously.
Everybody's
the 14th Amendment protects me. If you're going to arrest me, you're going to arrest everyone that engages in First Amendment protected activities today.
Come on, you don't listen.
I don't ever listen.
I want to tell you something. So they're getting ready to tell everybody it's disrupting the class, so I'm just letting you know.
I'm not fucking leaving.
I'm not
public property.
You to leave.
I own this land, and I'm not breaking the law.
I didn't tell you to leave. I'm just saying.
If the Nazis tell these kids to leave because they don't like free speech from different viewpoints, these kids should all quit today.
We're going to try to lower the volume.
Remember, if campus police tries to say that this is a disturbance because these kids are acting like fucking fools, you don't even talk to me about it. You take these kids, you deal with them, not me.
I said that everybody's going to get the notice.
Everybody's going to get the notice, and you're going to charge me for it, but not these fucking kids.
I'm just saying
you're getting ready to.
You're yelling too. I'm not getting ready to.
It's First Amendment. These kids are having a debate. The first time in their life they're confronted with an idea they disagree with. The buildings don't have rights. The buildings don't have rights.
The people in there have a right to.
I'm not using amplified sound. They are. Why are you talking to me and not these guys? Where's your decibel meter?
I asked campus safety to address
that they shouldn't disrupt someone else's property, but serve healthy debate. And I believe the first day you were here, it seemed to be that there was healthy debate and there was healthy discussion.
Look, they're literally stopping freedom of speech here at FCC. They're stopping the counter-protest. They're stopping everything.
Yeah, we're trying to stop the disturbance.
Who's causing the disturbance? Who's vandalizing property?
In my opinion, well, I think you're
right here. My property was vandalized. That's correct.
The whole thing's causing this.
I'm terribly sorry that other people want to play music at 110 decibels. That's not my problem.
Sorry, we're not out. One guy brought a bullhorn.
Yeah, you got a guy out here with a bullhorn, and you're talking to a guy who's standing here with a sign. What's wrong with this picture?
I believe that because campus safety asked all these people to leave, they're going to ask you to leave as well. So.
For doing what?
For being part of the disturbance.
I am in public, on public property, holding a sign as protected by the First Amendment.
I'm good with that.
And I've broken no laws, and if you want to do something to me, you go right ahead. I broke no laws. What law did I break? Name one.
We're not
Name a law.
The whole thing was causing a disturbance.
No, your students are ill-behaved little spoiled brats who don't like other opinions that offend them, and you're not going to silence my free speech because of little socialist, communist little brats who got offended. If you want to go ahead and do that, go ahead and do that. I'm right here.
But that person with the bullhorn right there, he's the person that elevated the volume.
I understand. We got him to stop using the bullhorn.
He kind of elevated it.
Yep. It's more.
I don't have voice amplification, and if you look up the case law, name one time where a protest was stopped and someone was cited for talking. Just name one case law.
I was just saying.
Any case.
I think the problem wasn't the speech; it was the volume. So we're trying to remove the problem.
The problem is not me standing here with a sign.
Or not?
What are you asking me to do? Are you trespassing me from public property?
I just want to know what's going to happen.
Is this guy asking me to leave public property I pay for?
Everyone to leave and disperse. It's causing a disruption to classes.
I'm not causing a disruption. You can't just rope everybody in and say everyone's breaking a law without citing one, and then try and say that I'm not allowed to be on public property I pay for with my tax dollars. I'm standing here protesting. The students have a problem allowing free speech that they disagree with. That is not my responsibility that those kids got offended. And if you want to charge me with a crime for some spoiled brats getting offended by a sign they don't like, you go ahead and do it. Commissioner's office is on Marcy's Choice. Do you understand my position, Captain Henneberry?
I'm just here to.
Have I broken any laws today?
As far as
I've been the victim of a crime, and you haven't even investigated it. I reported it to that guy, and he didn't do shit. He stood there. He's investigating his coffee break.
If you're going to stay, you're going to stay. I'm just here.
I'm never going to freaking leave because I'm allowed to be here, and I'm protesting. I'm holding a sign, and if you think you're going to charge me for holding a sign, you go right ahead.
So as you can see right there, that was the alleged criminal conduct. Well, moving forward, Shaun Porter would go to court for several preliminary inquiries. He would get the matter postponed several times. We knew about that when it happened. We didn't bring that to you. It wasn't really all that news breaking. But in any event, Shaun Porter, in a pro se fashion, has come to in agreement with the Frederick County State's Attorney's Office, where the whole case in question will be placed onto the STET docket, or the STET, which is Latin for let it stand. If you're unfamiliar with what that means, it's not a guilty disposition, and it's also not a not guilty disposition either. What that means, a STET, is when you allow the case to not move forward. You don't pursue the case. You don't take it to a jury trial. You don't move the case forward in any way, shape, or form, so long as the defendant in that case meets certain criteria, or STET conditions as they call them. And as we understand it, the STET conditions which are now in place are that Shaun Porter is not to return to Frederick Community College for 3 years. However, Shaun Porter can file a motion in 1 year to modify the STET docket into a non-prosecution status. So while there is this strange sort of situation where he can't go back for 3 years, he can at the same time have the case converted into a null pros, or a non-prosecution status, within 1 year. That was the terms and conditions entered onto the record yesterday before Judge Dino Flores of the Frederick County District Court. Tammy Leach was the prosecutor assigned to this case, and evidently things were able to work out between Mr. Porter and the state's attorney's office. Now, in just one moment, we are going to play you an exclusive interview where we get Shaun Porter's instant reaction to all of this. So again, before we bring you that interview, we'll close out by just saying it's not a guilty verdict. It's not a not guilty verdict. The case at this point doesn't seem like it will be headed to trial in any way, shape, or form. It has been placed on the STET docket, and as long as Mr. Porter follows the very limited STET conditions, he should have no problem with having this case completely expunged off of his record within a year. These things are complicated, and you never know how they can turn out, and we will get his reaction on that issue and more here and now with this interview exclusively with Shaun Porter, Maryland activist. All right, Shaun, do we have you on the line?
Yes, I'm here, Levi.
Good deal. So you're just coming out of the Frederick District Court. You've been dealing with this thing for a little bit now, and now you have been placed on the STET docket. What's your instant reaction to all this, and what do you want to say about these STET conditions?
Well, it gives me $2,000 less in legal fees and $2,000 more in the White Claw Fund to spend at Havana up in Hagerstown off Dual Highway.
So you didn't have to put out any money for this case? No lawyer fees?
I didn't spend anything. No, I just showed up a couple of times and, saw a lot of people I knew and, got to take a tour of several different courtrooms. I mean, it was, it was a pretty good experience overall.
Huh. Is this an outcome you're comfortable with?
Well, I mean, obviously, the right outcome would be for it to have never been applied for in the first place. But since the charges were applied for me, protesting at FCC and then not leaving when security staff had allegedly asked me to leave, even though I had been told previously by the director of public safety that it was my right to stay, and all they could do was ask me to leave, which seems kind of like entrapment, to then charge somebody for doing exactly what the director of public safety had said. However, because the charges were applied for and because the state kind of has to do what the state has to do, and the alleged victim is FCC, who didn't want to give it up. This is the best outcome I could hope for, even if I had paid an attorney, barring going to trial, obviously, and proving that I'm innocent and proving that I was engaged in a constitutionally protected right and asserting my rights and asserting my defenses. This is the best possible outcome secondary to that. Because with the alleged victim, FCC, not wanting to back off, there's no chance of a null pros. And then the next best thing is a STET, which is put on the inactive docket. And that is where this case currently is, meaning no further court cases, no adverse actions, nothing on my record. I don't have to retain an attorney for trial. So that is the best possible outcome under these circumstances with regards to the White Claw / beer fund.
So I want to make sure I have it right. You're on the STET docket, and the conditions of your STET are that you don't go back for 3 years, but that you can also motion the court to modify the STET docket to a non-prosecution in 1 year. Do I have all this correct? Am I missing anything? Or what are the specifics of this STET docket?
Well, the specifics are actually just this. Stay away from FCC for 3 years, and this case goes away completely regardless. Now, either party can take it off the shelf at any point in time and bring it back. If I decided tomorrow, you know what, instead of buying 500 White Claws with that money, I would rather give it to an attorney to go to trial and to prove that I'm right. Well, I could do that. If the state says, you know what, screw this Porter guy and his good looks, we want to prosecute him, they could do that too. However, we have an on-the-record agreement that they won't do that if I just simply don't ever become a factor at FCC for 3 years. Now, I was going to work on my degree in gender studies, so this may have an impact on me achieving that lifelong goal. However, under the present circumstances, I probably would go to a different college anyhow.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. That might put a damper on your studies, no doubt about it. I want to ask you. Was the court packed? I hear you might have had some support in the gallery.
Well, I mean, the courtroom was completely packed. There was a lot of people in there for DUIs and DWIs. So, guys, if you're hearing this, don't White Claw and drive. All right, it's just not a good thing to do. But no, there was I got to see. Obviously Sam Rosenblum came. That's my fellow protester. But funny enough, not a single witness showed up for FCC or for the police. They were on what's called a 15-minute call. And what it is when you don't want to inconvenience a bunch of witnesses because you don't think something's going to trial, you just put them on call and you can just call them up and have them show up in 15 minutes, half hour, later in that day. And that's something that the state will do when they don't want to inconvenience a large group of people, because I think we were up to like a dozen witnesses, including police officers and staff. However, in the courtroom, I was able to see the legendary, the one and only Mark Ward argue several cases, successfully so, in front of me right before my very eyes. So that was obviously a great pleasure. I got to see Mary Drawball. She argued a few cases and, of course, was equally as successful. The state that I got to deal with, that I had the pleasure of dealing with, was Tammy Leach. She's legendary in her own right. And then, of course, unfortunately, I was hoping to see a case argued by the one and only John Discavige, local celebrity attorney. However, I did not see him argue any cases. But, overall, it was a pretty packed courthouse. I did actually get to talk to some sheriff's deputies who witnessed the flip-flop foot pursuit of the suspect that hit protester Sam Rosenblum. And they also saw Lieutenant Chad Atkins running in his cowboy boots, and they witnessed the whole thing. and they were part of that group of, I don't know, a dozen cops or maybe even more that had responded to try and get that guy who apparently they found his jacket on a roof after he had escaped. He escaped the canines and all the cops gave him the slip. And so those sheriff's deputies were there. So I got to talk to them for a while out in the hall, and that was pretty cool. And, it was a good day in court. And my God, Judge Dino Flores, he could quit his judgeship right now and replace Jimmy Kimmel. And he was hilarious.
I was going to ask you, how did the judge treat the case? What was his commentary?
I got to start by saying I don't know that I've ever seen a judge quite that nice before. I mean, he was nice to absolutely everybody that came up there, and he went out of his way to make sure everyone's rights were protected. And he's just a really good guy. I mean, he's a great dude. And when it came to my case, I couldn't believe what he was saying. He actually said, "Now, Mr. Porter, are you okay with this? You know what this means?" I'm like, "Yes, I understand." He's like, "If you were to go and murder someone at FCC, they would be able to then take this case and bring it back up, and you'd have to deal with it again in the future." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "So make sure if you murder somebody, it's not at FCC, because you don't want to have to deal with this trespassing case against in the future." And like everyone was just laughing because it was so absurd. Like, if you were on trial for murder, the last thing you'd worry about was a potential of a trespassing issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from the standpoint of the law, he is correct.
And then he went further on to say, Mr. Porter, as a result of this, when you take a STET agreement, you are waiving your right to a speedy trial in the future. And are you okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with saving thousands of dollars in legal fees to not have to deal with this headache. And I'll be glad to waive my right to a speedy trial for that savings. So it was a pretty good good crowd in there, and the state was very accommodating. And it's bizarre that the state, this prosecutor Tammy Leach, she was nice to everybody too. Everybody in there was so nice. I think I want to go back.
Wow. Yeah. Well, if you go back to FCC, you might get your wish.
I don't think. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit scared to go back to FCC because I don't know how many more times I can afford to get attacked by a girl.
Yeah.
A man can only take so much trauma in life, and I just keep getting beat up by girls. It's just, it just keeps going. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, well, and I'll close out by saying it seems like you weighed all your options. You sort of thought about this whole situation, and you found a path forward that is sensible. This is not a not guilty verdict, but it's not a guilty verdict either. The way I like to think about it is it's sort of like in a civil case, if you settle the case. It's not you're finding liability or you're not finding liability. It's sort of just like, we can work this out without having to go with trial. I'll do this, you'll do that, and we will move forward gracefully. That's sort of what I think of a STET as. Is that a fair description?
Correct. I accepted no fault, and I accepted, absolutely. I am acknowledging nothing other than the fact that I'm a cheap bastard who wants to save thousands of dollars in the face of an unrelenting Frederick Community College. They don't want to give it up, so they would want to go to trial, and this is the next best thing I can get from going to trial and spending that money.
Okay, well, with that is quite interesting stuff. I appreciate you providing me the commentary on that. And is there anything else you'd like to add at this time about the case? I know that I'll be reaching out to FCC to try to get their comment on the matter. But is there anything else you'd like to add at this time?
Well, good luck with getting a comment from a state institution about a case like this. I doubt you're going to get so much as a return phone call. But no, everybody was great in it. Obviously, the Frederick City Police didn't want to be involved and were kind of dragged into it, but they've got to do their job. They take no sides on this case or any other case for that matter. And, all in all, it was just the whole thing was kind of a great experience. I got to, meet a lot of great people, and I got to have, a lot of interesting trips to the parking garage next to the courthouse.